Hello there, and welcome back to War Thunder. So sorry for the absence yesterday, but my internet just had some problems, and so it wasn't possible for me to record gameplay at all. The next thing is, in the background you can see me playing the T-62. Now why is this that I play this Soviet main battle tank, or medium tank if you will? Well, because I wanna answer the question if this tank will be a good premium. And that is the reason because Gaijin tries to reskin it, try to then sell it as a rank 6 premium in the new upcoming Chinese tech tree. A, again, rather lazy asset flip, and so let's just talk about the tank and its performance and why I think that it will not be a pretty fun experience tank to buy. And amongst the rank 6 premiums, it is not the greatest choice, let's put it that way. In fact, because it has a battle rating of 8.3, it very often in many situations reminded me in my experience of the Shotcar Dalet, which by itself is again not a bad tank per se, but it is the method that you have to live and die by. So with that in mind, let's go through the problems. This tank is pretty good in a down tier, but it's not so great in an up tier. And you might think, well, that's just how it is in War Thunder, right? Correct. Except if you look at certain battle ratings and you have an unhealthy ratio of up tiers to down tiers. And while the experience in this tank is far from the one in the Shotcar Dalet in terms of up tiers, because I think the British Shotcar Dalet is very much tied to the XM1, which is at 9.0, so you see a lot of up tiers. I think that this tank still gets quite a handful of up tiers, and it is very often just 8.7 games. Now that is fine. Except it's not, because 8.7 gets flooded with other nations' premiums that are very, very close together in terms of statistics amongst each other, but they just leave the T-62 in the dust. I'm talking here about the Leo A1, A1 L44, the OF40 MTCA, the MX30 Super, the Type 74G Kai, and at the end of the spectrum, also the XM1 as the only 9.0 premium in this comparison. So those tanks have universally a reload of 6.7 seconds for an ace crew, whereas this tank has 9.2 seconds with an ace crew, and that just shows that really hurts quite a lot, especially in a city fight, especially if you miss your shot, the enemy just can run you down and you very often get killed because of that. And I mean, the thing is this, don't get me wrong, if you have all the time in the world, if you can make the good shot, the gun is good. The gun is very precise, the gun hits at long range, it hits very hard, you have good ammunition, but you cannot really, how should I say it, you cannot really play those cards, those trump cards, as often as you would like to. So, the next thing is, aside from the reload, the rest of the gun handling. Because you have not 10 degrees of gun depression, you don't have 8 degrees of gun depression. In fact, you only have 6 degrees of gun depression and 16 degrees of gun elevation. Then there is also the turret rotation speed, which is also quite slow in comparison. And so we just have to say that 16 degrees of turret rotation speed and 4.5 degrees of elevation speed just feels rather like a heavy tank amongst main battle tanks. And while you have more armor than the average main battle tank of other nations, it doesn't really save you from APFSDS, ATGMs, helicopters, etc. It can help you versus the occasional troll SPA, etc. But aside from that, your armor is more like a bad thing to have. And that brings me to the rest of the mobility, because in reverse we have minus 7 kilometers per hour, and forwards we are looking at a maximum speed of 50 kilometers per hour. The horsepower to ton ratio is created by 580 horsepower of the engine and 37 tons. So that is nowhere near the horsepower to ton ratio of the other main battle tanks. Then you're pretty sluggish in turning, you have no neutral steering, so you have a disadvantage in mobility, a disadvantage in maneuverability, and a disadvantage in gun handling and reload. So then your armor is not really worth all that much. Now imagine you have to play that kind of tank all the time because you just purchased it and you just want to have a good battle. Is it possible? Yes, with a lot of patience. If there is the possibility to go for long range shooting. And that is sadly not always the case. But it's possible sometimes. It's down to you if you have experience with top tier tanks. Just imagine everything being just a little bit worse. Or in terms of the reload, significant. 2.5 seconds reload difference is extremely painful in my books. Because, again, if you then are down to 2 crew members, or if you are in Mexican standoff, you just can't risk the shots, and somebody just can hunt you down while you're reloading. And again, you cannot really retreat into cover or just do anything with your mobility in time. So it really shows in many battles. Now let's have a look at the gameplay at hand, and as you can see, I'm running here a very risky ride because I try to go to sea on the southern side of the lake on the Poland map. And if you manage to be successful with this, you can potentially lock down a certain flank of the enemy. And there is also at the end a very funny scene. But let's first get into position. And then we have the first customer of the day. A tree. Why do I shoot it away? So that I have vision from this position, and in my books that is worth wasting a shot, if you will. At this point I'm even glad that it wasn't really a stand-up tree. You know, you shoot it, it partially falls down and then stands up again. Yeah, I have low expectations of War Thunder at the moment. And then we have the first German customer, and it is a Leopard 1. Commander, gunner, track. So he is immobilized and he can't really shoot back. And I slightly misaim here. I wanted to shoot a bit to the right to hit the loader, but then the gunner came into place again. So he shot somebody else, and now I have the killing shot. Took me only 3 AP FSDS rounds, really. And so this position is also pretty good. And while the T-62's armor isn't really all that good versus AP FSDS hull-wise, the turret, if hit on the right spot, still can make some AP FSDS rounds ricochet, but you never should really count on it. It's more like it happens by accident, but it happens by accident much more often than with other regular 8.7 premiums. Again, this tank is 8.3, but it very often again gets up tiered, like the shot Caldalet. So here I just try to be in the second row. I don't want to be the frontline tank, and I just want to snipe, because I think that with this high velocity AP FSDS and the scope of this 115mm gun, hitting targets even at long range is fairly easy. Now, if you have already pre-ordered this tank, which I would never recommend, never pre-order anything, not for any discount, not for any extra title, decal, etc. Just don't do this. I never really recommended that in the first place, and because many things can and will change from the dev server to the live server, and even afterwards, the first 2-3 days, nobody is really safe from changes. When Gaijin again says, whoopsie-doo, we just misplayed down armor piercing plate, an armor plate, and we again miscalculated the effective thickness, yada yada yada, lol ruffle, YOLO XD. That's just how Gaijin makes their money, really. And I'm not a fan of that. So, is the tank really unfun? When in situations where you can kill the enemy and you hit targets at long range, and you are a very patient player, then this tank can be the one for you. But again, those things can be done by the other premium tanks as well, or even better, with the extra option of better maneuvering, better rate of fire, and also significantly better mobility. Now when it comes to the mobility, in a straight line the tank is fairly quick, but when it comes to the maneuverability, like turning, like accelerating, like running up a hill, and also neutral steering, the tank is in a severe disadvantage. Another factor that we really have to talk about is the lack of a heavy machine gun, and that puts it on par with the Leopard A1A1 L44, which is so far the only rank 6 premium tank that doesn't have a heavy machine gun. And versus helicopters, versus low-flying planes, and also versus some potato trucks, that puts you in a disadvantage that is feelable. So again, here we just wait and we just get rewarded with our patience by greeting this Panther machine gunner. I should have aimed there again a bit better. Then we aim at the very heavily angled side, but this is APFSDS, and so while reversing, an ATGM misses us. And can we hit this Leopard? Come on. Yes! That's what I'm talking about. Aiming this APFSDS and hitting targets at long range is fairly doable. So, and here we have now the R3. Very annoying. I repair in the capture zone, and did you see that? There was a shot coming from the right. Or at least it whizzed by and impacted on the right. Because I was in the repair zone, or because I was in the capture zone, my repair time is halved. Very important tip. And again, I smoke up because I have no idea where the enemy is coming from, and I reverse into the smoke to really deny the enemy. To my left, or to my back rather, there was also this ridge line where the enemy also had, if at all, a very small target of mine. Now I reverse here and just turn around and try to check here this location. Another factor that really annoys me at the moment are those AUBLs, the Oval 74, the reward tank, because they get spammed out everywhere, they drive like crazy, they have an even faster reload, can you believe it, and they also render your armor completely pointless. A Raketenjagdpanzer just blew up the ZSU 57-2 that was approaching the spawn zone of the enemy. By the way, here, look at this. Yeah, I just missed that shot, but don't ask me why. And I hang around, and then obviously gun breach, gun barrel thunder. And again, I try my luck here again. 14 seconds repair time for both the gun breach and the gun barrel, and with no crew lost so far. I pinged the location of the map so that if anybody of my team would watch, they could intercept this. And this is where we come now into the funny scene. You see, I lost the Oval actually, and then I see that the plane hits here an enemy tank with a bomb but didn't destroy him. And so I think quickly, what should I do? I just cross the ridgeline and pump one shot into this tank. But then I get punished for doing so at the exact wrong moment by the Oval. I reverse again, and again I try to smoke up. Not just only do I try to repair, but also I try to recover a crewmate because I'm down to 2. I'm stuck here for the repair anyways, so not much that I could do. I fired here, but it didn't fire, and so I still have the shell in the chamber. I can look out of the smoke, and this is now very funny. So I'm again down to 2 crew members, and my turret ring is locked. 5 seconds to repair. Now my gunner is out. I don't know how he did this. 3 seconds, he pumps another shot into me. He fails, and unlucky, man. Unlucky. That felt so sweet. There was nothing that I could do, but for a change, another enemy screwed up. That happens so rarely to me, so all the sweeter it is when it happens. And I still am alone covering C. And I think that this position is powerful, that this position is strong to hold with multiple tanks, and due to Gaijin's appalling map design, you can also directly shoot into the enemy's spawn from the objective. It's debatable if this is spawn camping or just using the map knowledge for an advantageous position while protecting the objective. But, you know, obviously if you are at the receiving end, it's always spawn killing, spawn camping, spawn pushing, whatever. And obviously if you do it yourself, you don't really feel all that much mercy with the enemy. Battle, two more things that I want to say. So first of all, this tank will not be the most fun, the most effective premiums, but it still has its moments. It's far from useless, but don't think that you are on par with the competition effectively. The next thing is, what do I think about Gaijin's recent announcements? I think they are really pushing their luck. They are really pushing the community into frustration. Instead of decompressing that we ask for, we get even more compression. Look at the battle ratings of the chats. Look at the top tier main battle tanks battle ratings. Nothing has changed. Nothing will ever change. And this is why I actually despise top tier from a balancing standpoint. So what do I think then also about China, the new nation? Well, I think it is very often a lazy asset flip, although that there are some new and interesting vehicles in there, like the Sonderkraftfahrzeug 222 I saw, and it looks pretty cool. I am really looking forward to this one, and I don't know if we ever see a dev server again, but that's just how it is. I think it is mostly like a lazy asset flip. This is as cheap to produce as it was for Italy to create planes. You just copy pasted them out of the German tech tree, a bit of different color scheme, a little bit of different skins, maybe some different names or name adoptions, and then you could gradually fill a few new fighters in there, et voila, it's a new tech tree. So here we could end the battle with 6 kills and 1 kill assist and just under 2000 score points. Funnily enough, no survivor award. Nevertheless, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a like if you did, subscribe if you want to see more, and let me know in the comment section what you think about this tank's performance in battle, what you think about its value as a premium, and as usual we'll see each other in the skies, on the waves and on the battlefields of War Thunder.